this video, we need to talk about women becoming more liberal, especially in Gen Z, so under 30 years old, and men becoming more conservative in the same age group. What is going on? Why is this happening? Not only am I going to provide my insights, but we're also going to provide the insights of my wife, Lauren, who has some interesting perspectives that I didn't think about. Let's talk about this. First, let's look at the data. This is a piece in the Financial Times. As this line goes up, you become more liberal. As the line goes down, you become more, or there's evidence of you becoming more conservative. As you can see in South Korea, there's a massive move towards conservatism in men. Women, slight uptick. United States, look at that wedge in the United States. And this wedge did not start, which I originally thought was a potential contributor, around Roe v. Wade time, which was the summer of 2022, about a year and a half ago. But look at that. A year and a half ago was really this right edge over here. The spread has really been happening for over a decade now. How wild is that? Women becoming substantially more liberal. You see this happening not just in South Korea or in the United States, but also now Germany and the United Kingdom. Look at the United Kingdom here. Same divide happening. So what's happening? What are some of the reasons for this? Let's look at some of the opinions of the Financial Times piece here, and then we'll also look at some of our opinions and then compare what some of the outcomes of these could be. So right here we see that women aged 18 to 30 are now 30% more liberal than their male contemporaries. This gap is being seen globally. They suggest that the Me Too movement was a big trigger, giving rise to fierce feminism. I wrote down some different ideas, and then I want to tell you what Lauren's ideas are. So I wrote down the following. First, I wrote down not just abortion, mostly because of the timing of Roe v. Wade, although I do think that's a contributor now more recently. I actually think social media is the big alignment here. I remember joining Twitter, for example, back when it was Twitter, in 2009. And I want to draw just for a moment really where we got this rise of, for example, Twitter. You're right about here. Let's maybe draw a little bit of a thinner line. There we go. And then really we had the rise of Facebook and MySpace, probably more mid-2000s. I know they were launched a little bit earlier, as early as 2002, but you didn't really get mass popularity until internet was more widely available, especially broadband internet. So I personally think really going into the 2010s, you saw a massive rise of social media. Now, why could this be? Well, I believe that men are substantially more likely to post about business success, and women are substantially more likely to post about familial success. Women, much more focused on, here's my husband, here's my family house, here are my children, here's my partner, here's my family, whatever it might be. On the flip side, men are more focused on showcasing their personal achievement or their company's achievement. That's business success, money success. Think closely for a moment to the rise of the Andrew Tate mentality on social media, which is work out, work hard, play hard, fancy car, jets, whatever it is. Business success, achievement. It's not about people's success. You very rarely hear about Andrew Tate talk about his children, for example, or his respect for women. In fact, I've noticed this just in social media as well. If I say something like, I think Lauren is amazing, she's the love of my life, I value her so much, people are like, oh, you're whipped or whatever derogatory comments want to say. It's less popular for a guy to receive positive reactions for cheering the success of being a father or being a husband. That gets less popularity on social media as opposed to look at the success of my business or my jet or my car or my workout routine. Whereas with women, it's almost the opposite. And so I wonder if that then drives men towards a more conservative, patriarchal 1950s style, right? Finance, conservatism, lower taxes, less government, business, free values, libertarianism. Whereas women might associate that patriarchy with misogyny. Andrew Tate misogyny. Where's the respect for women, right? And potentially that could be what's driving this divide. Consider for a moment the opposite. I turned over here. Turning to the left for a woman is almost like shunning that patriarchy. In fact, if you look at women and their attendance in college, ready for this? Watch this. Women now comprise 60% of university and college enrollment, men just over 40%. 50 years ago, it was the exact opposite. Now, of course, we could argue, and this would be a natural argument that I'm sure many of you are thinking right now, oh, it's the liberal institutions that are brainwashing women. Or women are becoming more independent. Or women are finally recognizing, hey, I don't need a man in my life to run it. I don't need a dude to tell me that it's okay for me to be able to spend money on myself, or it's okay to live freely and have my own career. It could be this independence of women saying, hey, we can take care of ourselves. We don't need you to do what you're showcasing on social media. I run the ship. I cut the logs, right? It's an interesting idea. Now, what's also interesting about this is you would think if men are more conservative and business focused, they'd buy more homes, but they don't. Single men own 8.24 million homes. Single women own 10.95 million homes in America. So you've got almost 20% more homes owned by single women than single men. And that's while women still make about roughly 82 cents to every dollar that a man makes. And what's actually really interesting about this is single moms. There are about over 15 million single moms in America to just 2.3 million single fathers. So you got way more single moms, 3x the number of single moms that you've had since the 1960s. And so I wonder, is what we're seeing with these shifts in political preferences partially a sign of women sort of revolting from what men are very used to promoting on social media? And is this sort of a recoiling of, no, we don't need you? But unfortunately, and I don't know if that's the case, but unfortunately what's happening is it seems like there is less empathy for the other gender today than ever before. Now, that might be because of this gap. Look, when you put somebody who's further left in the same room as somebody who's further to the right, it's harder to build a relationship with somebody who is diametrically opposed to you. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, Lauren and I, we have different opinions on some things as well, but we're both relatively close to the middle, to where it doesn't really matter if you're 1 or 2% more that way or 1 or 2% more that way. It really balances out. But I wonder, for new relationships, is it possible that the wedge becomes so large you actually promote the rise of less relationships, less marriages, and then ultimately less children? In fact, if we go down this Financial Times piece right here, you'd actually see that in Korea, so South Korea, the extreme situation where that gap is so wide, look what happened. Its society is riven in two. Its marriage rate has plummeted. Its birth rate has fallen precipitously, dropping to just 0.78 births per woman. Folks, replacement rate is 2.1. Anything less than 2.1 births per couple is population decline. And this is potentially now, this divergence is getting worse and more self-sustaining. In the US, UK, and Germany, young women now take far more liberal positions on immigration and racial justice than men, whereas more men are shifting towards anti-immigration, like supporting the AfD in Deutschland. Look, it doesn't matter to me ultimately if somebody is left or right-leaning. I really consider myself so far in the middle, but I try to think about this out loud, and I see this. And what it's culminating in my opinion, is jadedness towards the other sex. First of all, obviously, I'm in finance. When I put out, a request for interns, I get like 99% dudes that apply because it's a finance career, right? And the women that have applied, mostly not qualified. In fact, I can't think of a single woman that has applied that has been qualified from a finance point of view. So this is a problem. If you are a woman watching this and you want a finance career, email us at jobs@meetkevin.com. Although I have a feeling I'm going to get 0, but we'll see. But the point is, this self-sustaining nature is becoming very problematic because it's leading genders to become much more jaded. And I find men are becoming a lot, like heavily jaded towards women. Just this idea that they're over it. They're over trying to please a woman. And men are like, screw this, I don't need a man in my life, I'll do it myself. And it's sad. To the point where the number one response that I get when I ask women, whether they're strangers and I survey them, younger, older, doesn't matter. I say, what do you wish men would do for you? It's not provide. It's not have children with me. It's not work for me, make money for me. It's none of that. It's just be nice. That's the overwhelming response I get, is just be nice. Can people just be nice? But that's probably a lot harder when there's such a political divide between apparently in the Gen Z. It seems like it's substantially more extreme than what you're seeing amongst millennials. What I also thought was very interesting is when I look at Tate, for example, you've got twice as many men like or support Andrew Tate than women. And that's about 26% total average. Obviously more younger men than older, but so the total average is about 26%. According to the New York Post, only about 13% of women support Tate. So twice that, about 26% for men. But, I wonder, do those preferences amplify this? Manliness, patriarchy, and then that leads to the recoiling in women. I'm not sure. But I think it could all be bridged by being nice. And I was talking about this briefly this morning in our open Market Open live stream. Totally free. You could join me there every day. The stock market opens. And somebody mentioned that every time they watch a Tate video, the next day they get in an argument with their spouse. And they're like, what's going on? And they find they catch themselves being more aggressive and more, my rules this way, whatever. And of course, women recoil against that. I mean, anybody would. You could be a dude if somebody treats you like that, you get recoiling. So, really interesting. I don't know what this is going to mean, but I do know that birth rate declines are bad for the future of economies, GDP, global wealth. It's a bad thing. And really, for those of you looking for a relationship, Lauren and I, we've been in a relationship, knock on wood, we've been in a relationship for 16 years now. It's incredible. And for us, there's no relationship that doesn't have problems or has had problems. We feel like we've gotten over all of ours, again, knock on wood. But our relationship always started out with the premise of we're equal, like neither of us are better, and we're both gonna work hard. And obviously, our paths and fortunes and our positioning in life went into slightly different directions. Myself more social media, Lauren was more in property management, my real estate led into social media and so on. So of course there are changes that evolved, but when we started, we were both equally broke, on the same footing, and we treated each other as equals, and we still do. So I hope everybody can, but
why not advertise these things that you told us here? I feel like nobody else knows about this.
We'll try a little advertising and see how it goes.
Congratulations, man. You have done so much. People love you. People look up to you.
Kevin Paffrath there, financial analyst and YouTuber. Meet Kevin. Always great to get your take.
even though I'm a licensed financial advisor, real estate broker, and becoming a stockbroker, this video is neither personalized financial advice nor real estate advice for you. It is not tax, legal, or otherwise personalized advice tailored to you. This video provides generalized perspective, information, and commentary. Any third-party content I show should not be deemed endorsed by me. This video is not and shall never be deemed reasonably sufficient information for the purpose of evaluating a security or investment decision. Any links or promoted products are either paid affiliations or products or services which we may benefit from. I personally operate an actively managed ETF and hold long positions in various securities, potentially including those mentioned in this video. However, I have no relationship to any issuers other than HouseHack, nor am I presently acting as a market maker.